Yes. So the training begins in November, the first module. Um, and in this module, we are actually going to be talking about the the period of time as we age, as we grow older. Um, it's important to know that most people don't just live and then suddenly die. There's there's a lead in, a whole lead in that could take a number of years, that does take a number of years for many people, where the body is weakening, becoming unable to function as we did when we were younger. And then diseases come into the picture. Many people spend many years of their aging process living with some life-threatening illness, maybe cancer, maybe heart disease, maybe diabetes, all the things that begin to appear as we age, um, as our body wears out, and we need more medical support, more care. We need other people to do things for us. So the first module is about how we can use our process of aging, of growing older, to reevaluate what has happened in our life. What have we learned in our life about relationships, about love, about many different human qualities. What has made us wise in this life? What do we appreciate about this life? What do we still have to do in this life to feel complete? During our process of aging, um, we can do many things um, to complete the things that are not yet complete in our lives. And one very important point in that, it has to do with the people in our lives. We've all sustained many wounds. We've all felt rejection. We've all lost beloved friends and family members. We've all experienced grief. We also come through life with a lot of unfinished emotional business, people that we're still angry with, people that we still feel hurt by, people that we have cut off from because of perhaps the hurt that we have experienced with those people. But those issues are still hanging around inside, and those are the issues that begin to pop up when we're in the process of dying and we remember that we are still angry with a certain person, or we realize that we have not forgiven someone because of some way that they have hurt us. So there's a lot of unfinished emotional business that uh, arises through the process of aging, and we can use that time to clear that unfinished business, and we'll be bringing in many different techniques that can help us to experience that, and also that can help us to guide other people through the process of finishing some of their unfinished emotional business. We'll also be looking at what still needs to be completed in our life um, before we leave. Um, that could be any number of things. Maybe some traveling that we want to do, or something we want to learn about. These are all things that we can explore through the aging process. And I want to make that very clear in the first module. Um, Moving towards the end, moving towards our dying. That's what the first module is going to be about. So in the second module, this is where we will take our deep dive into what happens when we die, about the process that happens in our body in the months, the weeks, the days, the hours before death. We'll look deeply into that whole process. There will be a number of videos that I'll be showing throughout the training. And in this period, we have in the second module, we'll be showing some important videos about the process of the body through dying. Also, what happens in the mind as we move towards death, and what happens spiritually as we move towards death. Many transformations are internal transformations happen in the process of dying. And many of those things we don't automatically understand what's happening. And we'll be teaching about all of those things that we need to be aware of for those around us who might be facing death, and also for ourselves. So the process of dying, how to support people who are dying. We'll talk about music. We'll talk about touch. We'll talk about how we can finish our unfinished business with the person who is dying. We'll also talk about what happens in the family dynamics as someone in the family is getting ready to leave. Many things happen in the family that it's helpful if someone knows how to smooth things out, because there can be some very rough moments with the family. We'll talk about near-death experiences and some of the explorations in consciousness that are happening scientifically nowadays. Many people are studying death and dying and studying the process of what happens as we leave the body, as our spirit, or as whatever it is that leaves the body, leaves as we die. So we'll be looking into the scientific discoveries and the understanding of many different experts on what they have experienced as hospice nurses and doctors and nurses and professionals that have experienced many people dying. So there's a lot of information that will be, and we'll also be having personal experiences. Of course, there will be meditations and processes that we'll move through that will help us to connect with some of the subtler things that happen in consciousness as we leave this life. So that's what the second module is about. It's going to be a deep one. It's going to look into many details of the dying process. And then in the third module, we'll be focusing more on methods and ways that those who are in the training can support their family members, their loved ones, their friends, how we can support people who are facing dying. They've received a diagnosis, they have 3 months to live, or maybe they have 6 months to live. How can we ask the right questions and give them the support that they don't even know that they might need as they face their dying process? So we'll be working with a method called the best 3 months. And this is how to create comfort care. How can we create a peaceful atmosphere? How can we help a person to relax into this process? Some of this will happen in the second module also. And in the third module, we'll also talk about after death. How will we how will we mark this after death moment? Will we have a funeral? Will we have a memorial? Um, how will we deal with the remains, the body remains? In America, there are many different ecological methods that are being developed. So it's not only a choice of being buried or cremated, but there are many different ways that are more green friendly. Um, we'll also learn about how to create a ritual, how to create a, a goodbye, how to create your own funeral. We'll work with vigils, how to create a space for our loved one to say goodbye to friends, to say what they need to say, so that they can leave in a peaceful way, and so that their life will find ways that we can celebrate people's lives, that we can yeah, so we'll learn also about creating ceremony, creating ritual that can bring meaning to the loss and the grief that we feel when our loved ones leave, because it will always be a sad event when someone dies, but there is also a tremendous sense of completion of a life well lived, and we want to celebrate that. So yes, we'll be working also with death cafes, which is a very interesting um, community outreach project about death and dying, so that you can share in your larger community and educate um, people to possibilities that they never would have thought of before. So in this way, we can bring out our love and our care for that person and for their family, and we can create situations where that deep grief and loss is also uplifted, and where we bring celebration and joy to this very sacred ending of life, that departure that is so full of meaning. Fourth module is really just a way for us to come together after we've passed through the whole process, and to see how has this affected us. What have we really brought forth from this training? And yeah, any further questions, anything. We'll also be bringing in probably some more uh, meditations, exercises, ways that we can support ourselves and others in this journey. So that fourth module will be online, and yeah, will be a way for us just to reconnect and um, settle any questions. So yes, this training will be beneficial actually for everybody, because the fact is we're all on this journey of life and eventual dying. And so for all of us to become a little bit more acquainted with how that feels, what happens as we grow older, which is the whole process of moving towards death, which is a process, our aging process. We can, for instance, prepare for the kind of death that we would like to have, the conscious death that we would like to have. So in a way, this training is for everyone, because we're all going to die. And and unfortunately, we have buried the whole idea of dying. We've kind of put it into the closet and hidden it away in hospitals and old age homes, so that we don't experience death. maybe we know that our grandmother is dying and we might see her in the hospital when she's dying, but we don't live with death. And it's important to remember that that death and dying are part of the life process. And we have cut that off so that we glorify youth. And when it comes to growing older, we people become invisible. Nobody wants to hear from the old people any longer. So just to say that because death and dying is a journey that we will all be on, it's going to be helpful for all of us to learn about it and to talk about it and to understand what happens when we die so that we can support ourselves through that process and so that we can support our family, our loved ones, our friends as they also arrive at that moment of dying. And there will also be the opportunity to learn about different methods that we can use to support other people through their dying. If you happen to be a counselor or a therapist, surely some of your clients eventually are going to be in that position where they're facing death. And so we will learn many different techniques and methods to help you support your loved ones through the process of death and dying. So this is going to be a very useful training for, I would say, everyone. Whether you work with people or not, it's going to be an important step in your own personal process to face dying, to understand what happens then. What's the process, month by month, week by week, day by day? This is very important information to have, and we will be going deeply into this in the training. In conclusion, I think that the main thing that I hope to do in this training is to remember that death is a natural part of life, and we are born and we live our life and we die. And just to be able to embrace this idea that death is a natural part of life, and we want it to be as graceful, as peaceful, as comforting as we can possibly make it. And if we understand for ourselves about death and dying, about the naturalness of it, um, we can begin to celebrate the life that we have lived and recognize the meaning and the significance of our life, um, so that we can leave this life uh, with this recognition, with the possibility of actually welcoming this new experience that we don't know what's going to happen, but there is the possibility to open to death and dying in a way that we may not yet have managed, but yeah, just to see the naturalness of death and dying. The body knows how to die, and our work, our whole work, is just to support that and make it as beautiful, comfortable, peaceful, and yes, fulfilling as possible. So I look forward to meeting you all and to going on this incredible journey together. Yeah.